what was production like on this? Because I
Woo!
the whole film. I mean, just from like a cinematography perspective, handheld, 100%.
Yeah.
So you were holding a camera that whole time.
Yeah.
That's a very
Um,
physical film for you.
it was a very physical film for me, and even going into it, I knew it was going to be like that. I I trained a lot for that film, and um,
Do you mind elaborating? Like, what do you mean by training?
I do yoga is my main. I do a
Oh,
lot of
me
yoga,
too.
and I do weights. You too?
Me too.
Nice.
Hot, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do hot yoga.
Where do you go?
My wife's currently getting her, was it 200 hours instructor course, I think
I
right
do
now
hot
she's
yoga
doing.
too. I go to
Yeah.
Moto in New York.
There's a place in New Jersey called Basque
Okay,
Hot Yoga.
cool.
Um, yeah, big fan.
If I'm ever there, yeah. Yeah, I do yoga. I think that the training for that film and was honestly my first like real serious investment in that physical practice, and I haven't stopped, and I've only gotten more intense about it
Mm.
in the years following. Production was wild on Good Girl Jane. We started filming, so it's a small indie project. Um the directors Sarah and I went to college together and have been working together for a long time. So I was kind of involved in the concept of this project from the very early stages, which I'm saying like 2015, 2014,
Oh
like
wow.
short first drafts of far iterations ago. I mean, this has been something in the works for a long time. Um,
So you have a deep understanding of this
yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. Um, Definitely, and a strong attachment to it's our babies, you know, and it's Sarah's the director, and then Lauren Pratt, our producer, also who used to be we used to date, so there's a whole element of a real trio of kind of just like um a core crew of people who are very deep and strong collaborators on many levels. Um, Lauren was trying to finance this film for probably 4 or 5 years before we shot as well. So, and I was somewhat involved in all of these processes. So, after all of this, and finally, I mean, it's very difficult to get an indie film made and to get people to pay for it, but we did it. After years of trying to find this financing, we started production of our 4 week shoot in March of 2020. And
Wow. What a time.
we shut down right we kind of thought it was like March 3rd is when we started, and we were like, okay, we're just kind of running in front of this snowball. um
Yeah, it's gonna catch up
we're just
eventually.
gonna catch up eventually. We thought we could finish it up then, but we shut down 2 weeks into our production for COVID.
Mm.
um Waited an entire year, and and right when it was like there were procedures in play to shoot during COVID, we started back up again. We were one of the first productions up again in LA in 2021 in March, um, which was wild. Already that was an insane way to make a movie. But honestly, that hiatus provided us with, as devastating it was and as scary as it was for everyone, obviously COVID, and also just having put so much time and energy into a project and then having it almost feel like it was taken away. It really
Did it change your perspective on the film? Or
it
not change your
changed
perspective, but change your view on how to approach it moving forward?
100%. I mean, like when I watch the film, it's like, okay, that was pre-pandemic, and that
Can
was
you
during
you
the
can
pandemic.
notice that you can notice the two shifts?
It's we essentially we had the ability to make this was all of our first feature too. So if, essentially we had the ability to make a first feature, and then
Congratulate,
to,
beautiful first feature.
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Amazing.
We had the ability to make a first feature, which was the first half of a feature, our first 2 weeks. We had a year to sit with that footage, a year to look at what we were doing, a year to edit stuff together, um, and assess how we wanted to operate moving forward. So not a lot of huge big picture changes happened, but we really just kind of locked in. We doubled down on our mentality, I think. We kind of reclaimed the set in a way. I think that the second time around we were just like, okay, we know what we're doing. We have an understanding of what doesn't work from what we had shot before, and we have an understanding of what really does work.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it was a totally different energy the second time around, and a different level of confidence with all of us collaborators as well. Like, I don't know, everyone grew a lot in that year on this planet. um, it's not let alone in our film shoot. So yeah, yeah. I mean, and it was an indie budget feature. It was small from the get go. We got a little more, thankfully, post COVID to cover CCOs and all of this COVID infrastructure that we had for that brief amount of time.
How did you feel at the end of it? Because when I shot mine, I felt invigorated beyond anything that I could have ever felt shooting something. It literally was like a light bulb moment of like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
100% agree. I mean, it was magical, and it just a real, just such a huge collective effort, and to share that experience of invigoration with so many people is so powerful. And so many people really believed in this project. I felt amazing and so accomplished, and I really, I mean, we really just all believed so strongly in this piece. I also, like, for the first half of the shoot, I had just because of all the handheld operation, we shot on the Mini LF, Alexa Mini LF with Cooke S7 lenses, and I stripped it down as much as possible, but it's still, I mean, a
Yeah, that's a
30,
big one.
30, 35 pound situation. So the first after the first shoot, my left shoulder was totally fucked. And after the second shoot, like, and I finally got it back, like, after that, in that year of COVID, I was like, some rehab and some, like, all this stuff and some PT. And then finally, by like literally, like, right when we were starting to shoot the second part, I was like, oh, I'm great now. And then adrenaline kicked in for the entire shoot, and I was
Yeah.
just like, just going for it, operating. And then, like, literally 2 days after we wrapped, I was just like, oh, I can't lift my right arm higher than this. It was literally just like, it's just like, you did the thing. It's done. Um,
Yeah, the adrenaline wore off, and
yeah,
your body's like, all right, time to recognize what you have just
yeah.
done to me.
That actually was what inspired my real doubling down of yoga, because that
Mm,
is really my PT and my maintenance as well, and my mental clarity and everything. But I think it was just necessary for me it still is necessary for me to
yeah.
just constantly do it. I did it this morning before this
Hmm.
call at 7 a.m. Like, so yeah. Um, Exuberant after the shoot. I mean, and damaged physically.
I think something specific I wanted to, I noticed in this film is your use of coverage and coverage in the way of like not traditional because of how handheld it was and because of the free flowing. It was almost like you started the scene in a wide to establish the characters in a space, and then you were able to kind of push into the close-ups and mediums within almost single long takes.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of scenes were very long.
Yeah.
How was this going into it? How was that approach? And also, like, in terms of working with the actors, knowing that they also had to kind of do a long take per scene type of thing.
Yeah. Um, Sarah and I experimented with this. We did a short proof of concept um, in 2017, where we landed on this very specific methodology. It's really just cut as little as possible. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, essentially the rule is, I mean, there's some minor exceptions, and there's a few montage scenes which are definitely exceptions to this editing, to the shooting style, but it's generally one shot per scene. I mean, we
Right.
kind of we really kind of gave ourselves a pretty, as hard as we could without creating insane production nightmares for us, a pretty strict rule of each scene is a oneer basically, and it's all handheld too. It's not
Yeah.
um
blocking is so important when you're doing that.
It's wild too, because there's a lot of scenes that are just simple dialogue scenes, and learning how to cover multiple people and whole groups of friends, and a very fluid energy that we're trying to create. But there's a lot of, I mean, Sarah and I really, we planned a lot. We had a lot. We did a
Mm,
lot of diagrams, and we did a lot of shot listing, and and a lot of that is blocking. I mean, a lot of that was just trying to figure out how to make it look like there was no there was no efforting happening within the blocking process, when really it was a lot of complicated
yeah.
little beats to make us be able to pull it off in one shot. Yeah, it was, as far as working with the cast. I mean, it the whole film had, it was integral to the film, I think, and I think that Sarah made this call to shoot it like this, and it's a wild and brave decision, because
Were
it
you
puts,
nervous
I was
going
nervous,
into
but I
it?
was also so excited. I mean, it was just, it aligned so well with what inspires me. It really it really clicked with me, and I was so excited, and it was just a way that I really had wanted to work, in a way that is very intuitive for me to work. Um, yeah, I mean, with the cast, it's it became real life. I mean, it just it we
Right.
had to, all of us had to, Sarah, me, even production, all of the cast. Some of these shots are 5 minutes long. Like, there's a lot of scenes where some of the shots are 5 minutes long, including getting into a car, doing an entire driving grid all within the same shot, and then landing somewhere and finishing a scene out there. Like, it's not, these some of these things are not easy resets either. Like, you
No.
have to you have to, everyone
These
just
were
has
things
to
that I was thinking about too.